Hello everyone, I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Today I'm going to be back in Rooms of Wonder and I thought I'll do another little win on this page here with all the little perfumes and little beauty products. So I'm going to use a little bit of a mix of pencils today. I've got these tiny little amount of Caran Neocolors and I thought I'd try some of those on the background as well as some Albrecht Dürer just to make up for the ones I don't have. So these are the 4 colours that I have that aren't like the earthy green kind of colours, but you know what, I really want to have a go with these, so I thought these would be good today. I'm also going to use a few Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils as well, just because I want to bring in a few sort of violety, purpley kind of tones in there that I obviously don't have with my Neocolors. I've only got about, I think, 6 of them in total, so it's not many. So I'm just starting out by matching up the background here to the background on the little wing above. So I'm just sort of very gently adding in a little line. It's not super bright or anything like that, and this is with my Neocolors. It does not matter which color you use for this, as long as it sort of matches the ones that you use for the background. I'm just changing them up for each line. And if you don't have Neocolors, of course you can use Albrecht Dürer. Just find something that's sort of roughly similar. It should not be a problem at all. And then I also just want to let you know that I'm using my Faber-Castell Polychromos for the little bottles. They're so cute. I love all those little intricate details, and I need like a white to blend with, so usually I would use my Derwent drawing, but these little things are so tiny and the Derwent drawing has got a very thick sort of core, so I'm just going to bring out my Prismacolor white today. So to start with, I'm just going to place down just some little splotches of each colour, and then I'm going to use my Pentel water brush to blend them all together. So I'm just starting with my pentel water brush now and trying not to use too much water. I've got my little paper towel on the side here, and I'm just going to regularly wipe off my little paintbrush. So I just want to start with, just activate the pigment and then sort of spread it out a little bit, leaving some sort of lighter areas like there. And I can always go in and add more color over the top afterwards. So that is my current plan. So now I want to add in a little bit of violet, and as I mentioned, because I don't have that in the Neocolor II, I'm going to use my Faber-Castell Albrecht Dürer for that. Because it's still a little bit wet, I'm using the technique where I sort of dab my little water brush onto the tip of the pencil and then bring in the color. Just be careful when you do that because you can get very concentrated color down. So after dabbing a little bit on, I went and wiped off my brush, and then I was able to blend out a little bit. If you want concentrated color, obviously just leave it, but you know me, I prefer to build up color a little bit more slowly. Now I hope you're enjoying this video so far. If you are, I would love it if you take the time to give it a thumbs up, as it really helps push this video out to a wider audience. And it does seem that the YouTube algorithm has changed a bit lately, and I'm really having to work a whole lot harder to try and get some of my views back. And if you're new here, I would love to have you subscribe, and that way, if you keep the notification bell, you're going to get notified whenever I post new content. So I'm slowly starting to get to a point where I'm beginning to be happy with what we're doing. So just adding a few more colors around, and then I'm going to get my Faber-Castell Polychromos pencils out, and we're going to do our little bottles. I think this has worked out really well, actually. I love the way these sort of water-soluble mediums, how we can blend them into each other, and we have a lot of control by being able to put down just a tiny little bit of color and build up like a little blends and everything. So I'm really happy with this. We'll see how it goes when it all dries. Who knows, I might have to add something a little bit later once we got the foreground done, but there's no shame in doing that. As you balance out your picture, you might see things that you want to change, and that's totally okay. So time to start with the foreground. I'm going to start with the little middle bottle here. I thought I'd do like a bit of a gradient from like an orange to, I don't know, like maybe like a fuchsia pink, magenta-ish colour. So I'm going to do my orangey tones on the left and then my pinky colours on the right. Just because I got that violet up in the background there, and I think that contrasts really nice with that orange. So I thought that would be a nice little transition right there. And I want to do on the two on the side, I'm thinking of probably adding in some violet-y tones for the two side bottles on either side there, just for something slightly different and to contrast that middle one. So on the bottom left hand side, I decided instead of starting with like the orangey kind of colors to go with this light chromey yellow, just because we have a slightly lighter background. We got that yellow there, so I thought it sort of looks a bit like there's a little bit of a light source, so I'll go a little bit lighter there, and then I'll do the same as I did up the top and just sort of transition into these sort of darker pinky fuchsia kind of tones. So I decided to go with gold accents for all the little trimmings around here and the little stem that's sort of standing on. So I'm just going to do, instead of doing them too sort of yellow with too much ochre, I'm just going to use some brown, some of my lighter brown tones with some burnt sienna as well. I might just add a tiny little bit of the Naples Yellow maybe at the end, just in case I need it, but it's not as ochre as the dark Naples ochre or the light yellow ochre as well, so it tones it down a little bit by doing these brown tones first. So I'm just going to go in now with my Sakura Jelly Roll. I'm using my 08. I'm going to remove the black outlines, and I might put in like a little sparkly highlight somewhere as well, I'm thinking. So for the left little bottle here, vase, I'm just going to go ahead and put in a base layer of violet. I'm going in light, and I can always add in more layers after if I want to. And I'm going to add in probably some sort of pinky tones over the top, I think. But I want that base violet tone to be there because I don't want it as pink as the one in the middle. I want it to stand out a little bit. I'm leaving the flower for now. I'm still going to have some violet tones in that one, but I want to have it much lighter. So I'll show you what to do when you don't have like the super light colors. You will find if you compare, say, your Polychromos to your Prismacolors, Polychromos doesn't have those pastel-y colors as much as the Prismacolors do, but there are definitely ways you can get around this, and adding a layer of either white or ivory beforehand works a treat. So I'll show you how to do this with ivory on that flower first, and then we can add our colors after. Now, because I want that flower to be really light, I can definitely get away with going in a little bit darker directly behind it, and that will make it stand out more. So this little mauve color is really nice for that. I love using it for sort of shading when I do purple violety tones, as it's sort of nice and dark, but not too dark. Alright, let's get started on this little flower. So I'm going to start out with a layer of my ivory first, and that just takes up a bit of space on the tooth of the paper, so that way we don't get too much of our main colors. It will tone it down quite a lot and make it a little bit more like a pastel-y kind of color. So I'm just adding in a fair bit of this. Like, I'm not pushing down super hard, but I'm not going as light as I sort of do when I usually put down my first layers, so more like a medium pressure. So I'm going to go in now with my violet, and I'm going to follow that center line up a little bit, and then just sort of bring it up. I'm using light strokes, and this will sort of give it that sort of tiny little bit of color, but it will still be predominantly sort of pastel-y in the look. And then when we go ahead later, we're going to remove the black outlines, and you're going to see what I mean. So I'll probably go ahead and add some darker colors as well. I think I'm just sort of looking at what I feel like I need to do. So while I'm thinking about what I'm going to do with the flower, I'm just going to go ahead and do all the little trimmings. I'm going to do this in like a silver kind of color, just because we have slightly cooler colors in with the violet compared to the warm colors with the pinks and the yellows that we had on the other jar. So I'm going to do with the gray tones, and then I'm going to bring a little bit of those sort of violety colors, maybe with I might even do the mauve just on the darker side. So I'm just making sure that I'm leaving a bit of a white highlight. You want to make sure that you have a decent contrast between your highlight and your shaded area. And with silver, they do tend to take on the colors that are surrounding them. So that's why I'm bringing in some of this mauve from the vase or jar or whatever it is, bottle. And I'll try to bring that into my darker areas and layer it in with the greys. Now I'm jumping between things at the moment. I just want to go ahead now while I remember it and bring in my white Prismacolor pencil and just blend out that sort of outer edge a little bit. It just only had a very light layer of the violet. I'm also using it just to blend out that highlight as well. So let's just go in with some pinky tones now. I just wanted to add, for these little trimmings up the top, I thought I'd just go pink. And I'm just going to add a little bit more to the flower just to bring in some of the colors that we had on the main part of it. I'm not going in too hard, I'm just adding a few extra layers. And then now let's have a look at what it looks like when we remove the outlines. I do like to add in these before I'm completely done because it will give me an indication of where I need to add more things. So more color, more contrast and all of that. So it gives me a chance to adjust my coloring. Now I just spotted a couple of areas where I wanted to add just some sort of darker shadows. I don't want to go in with black on this picture, so I'm using my dark indigo. It works really well for shading and it just gives us that little bit more contrast, especially around the flower there as well. And I think I might even use it for the center of the flower just to contrast the light petals. So for this third little jar, I'm going to start out with my purple violet down the bottom, and as we go higher up on the bottle here, I'm just going to transition out of the violet into some pinky tones and maybe some orangey yellow tones as well. I'm also thinking of doing the trims in a mix of the gold and the silver. I think that might look nice. So for this top row, I'm just going to do like I did with the flower, and I'm going to go in with the ivory color first, and then I'm going to use one of my yellows, and then we'll just tone it down just that little bit. I might also use this one to blend, I think. Yeah, I'm going to blend out these other ones. It's not obviously as mushy as blending with a Prismacolor or a Derwent drawing, but it will sort of get a little bit of blend happening there. So I'm just going to add a little bit more of the mauve here and just add a bit more sort of shadows just along those sort of scalloped edges. And by the time I go in and remove those black outlines, that will still, the picture's still going to make sense because we have that contrast. So for the top lid, I'm going to do a mix of silver and gold, and I'm just going to use the same color combinations like I did before. And I'm just making sure again that I keep that white highlight to have a nice contrast. So I'm just going to finish off with these outlines. I did end up forgetting to use my Prismacolor pencil again and blend that edge, that lighter edge down the bottom there, like I did with the little jar on the vase on the left. But I'll do that later on. It won't be on the picture, but just because I completely forgot. But you can go ahead and do that if you want to, just to sort of make a nice smooth blend. So we're all done. Here is a bit of a close-up of what we did. I did add in those little white dots as you saw, and here is where we're up to on this page so far. So I'll probably try to come back to this one every now and again and finish it all off. Thank you so much for watching today. I wish you all a colourful day, and I hope to see you again next time.